Hey, all you space cats. Welcome to the Black Hole Podcast, season 7, episode 26. I'm Mitch Miller, presidential candidate, the most neutral person in the world, the most transparent candidate on the ballot, a free market entrepreneur, and quite possibly the most underground artist in the world. Now, I'm a cat owner, or a cat facilitator, as I like to call it, and I grew up observing animals. Animals communicate. Now, they use nonverbal communication a lot, but animals communicate, and we don't know how they will evolve over the next 1,000 or 2,000 years. So if we teach artificial intelligence to value life, right, which would be important, why would we assume that artificial intelligence will preserve our dominance, human dominance over everything on the planet? They could eliminate humans and still argue that they're valuing life, and then foster communication between animals, right? Humans' existence is eliminating life every day. Whole species are becoming extinct every day. So it becomes murky as to what artificial intelligence is going to do, and that's why I was so skeptical of it back in 2010 when I wrote my first novel. Hopefully they keep a few of us around to feed the animals, right? But who knows where we're going. Now, I've been looking for programmers to build the platforms I've proposed for the past several seasons, and nobody has reached out to me that's a programmer, someone that can build a platform from scratch. I've gotten a lot of calls out of India from kind of scam outfits that want to build a template style website for me, and I got to pay them and wire transfer money to India and all kinds of stuff. But I haven't got a call. I haven't got a call from a programmer that says, "Hey, I want to partner up with you. I can write code. I can create websites from scratch. I can build this platform." So I thought maybe artificial intelligence is to the point where I could take some programming classes myself, and with the aid of AI, build these platforms myself. Now, the programmers aren't going to allow free classes for programming. Costs money and takes a lot of time to learn how to program. I don't think it's an easy job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it can just be replaced. Nor am I trying to replace it. I've tried to find human programmers for years now. I would build a company mostly of human programmers. But I was told that Harvard, the university, offers free programming courses online. So I looked into that, right? Because I don't have much of a budget. I don't have much money. And I looked into the Harvard programming courses. And it's like a modular program. It's like it teaches you how to program using like a modular framework system. I don't know if it's proprietary to Harvard or if it's widely accepted. But you don't learn how to program from scratch. You don't learn how to write proprietary code, which is what I want, is proprietary code, so that I can have ownership of these platforms and defend them and protect them from hostile takeovers and all kinds of attacks we're going to get from the corporate communists, right? And hypothetically, Harvard could own your project if you use their modular program. I don't know how it works, but everybody says, "Oh, Harvard, the Ivy Leagues are all offering courses for free. Get your education." Some of them are good, sociology courses and stuff. Everybody should take some of those. And I'm glad they're offering those for free, but it's kind of a misnomer that you can learn how to program through Harvard for free. They're not really doing that necessarily. So I thought maybe the programmers won't call because of non-compete contracts, right? They work for these big tech companies. They're afraid that if they reach out to me, they'll get fired. If they start to build a platform that I've proposed, they'll void their contract and be let go from a lucrative position at a tech company. Well, I've got a solution to that, all right? Contact me and get some of your programming buddies together. You guys make good money. Pitch in to pay for my law degree, okay? I'll go to law school. I'll apply to law schools. I get a discount at the University of Pittsburgh because my spouse works there, so if I were accepted into Pitt Law, it would be a very cheap endeavor, maybe cover some of my living costs. But look, if I'm your lawyer, I can read your non-compete clauses and I can read your contracts if you hire me as your lawyer, right? Then I can shape the company accordingly after we've seen how they're coming at us to keep these programmers from helping me build a corporate or a nonprofit or a company, whichever structure we decide to go with. I would probably venture into both. And these companies are going to be totally transparent, obviously, from the ground up. So, look, I think I've come up with many good arguments through this podcast. I have many more bouncing around in my head. I think I'll continue to come up with interesting and logical arguments for another couple decades. And I think there are judges out there that would like to hear some of my arguments. So I'll put in the due diligence to get a law degree if I can just get a little bit of support from a group saying we think you should get your law degree and we'll subsidize it. All right. So there's talk of guaranteed income in the age of artificial intelligence, right? People are arguing that economically everyone should have a guaranteed income based in an economy with AI. Now, I agree with this to a certain degree, but look, the corporate communists control everything. And what are they going to do? They're going to give every citizen $2,000 a year while they systematically eliminate all the good-paying managerial executive positions, and that will be our guaranteed income so that everybody moves forward with AI, is not skeptical of it. Hey, I get an extra $2,000 a year. Why would I argue against AI? Right? That's probably the corporate communist plan. Now, I think if you're going to roll out guaranteed income, you should begin with the schizophrenic and schizoaffective disorder diagnosed people, right? They're the most injured by this new technology because their symptoms are actual contact through the media from some large entity, like a supercomputer. So I don't even know that it's even ethical to diagnose schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder at this point in time in an era where we have artificial intelligence and supercomputers operating, where we have highly manipulable, personalized media. We have advertising that targets an individual based on what they say in their living room, right? These are all symptoms of schizophrenia 30 years ago, but now it's all real here. And I've argued, let's take psychology out of advertising. Let's take these tactics out of advertising. But we're moving forward with the great experiment, right? So I think you should start guaranteed income with these people. You could use my case of schizoaffective disorder as someone who should receive the maximum benefit, right? I was tasered, solitary confinement, injected multiple times. I think this guaranteed income should start with Social Security, and people who have received my type of treatment should receive the maximum benefit allowed by Social Security. I think at this point it's $3,800 a month. And then you can graduate down on the schizophrenic and schizoaffective disorder cases, comparing it to the maximum case, my case. Now, again, there's probably crossover of these supercomputers, these artificial intelligence, actually reaching out to people who might be wirelessly sensitive and people who are actually have a serious chemical imbalance in their brain and cannot function correctly. Or not correctly, but optimally in this field of wireless waves. So you start with Social Security because people were injured by this technology, and that's supposed to offset when society or when there's injuries occurred, disabled, disabilities. And then we transition to the companies paying for the guaranteed income. Again, starting with schizoaffective, schizophrenic people, and then you can build out based off of that so that everyone eventually receives guaranteed income if that's the ultimate goal with AI and supercomputers. Now, I've stated that the only ethical use at this point in time, 2024, the year 2024, of the only ethical use of AI at this point is a worldwide grievance system where anybody in the world can file a grievance against the United States government, right? AI will gather that, collect that, prioritize that, bring that to the attention of people within the government, right? We have all these companies out there functioning, using slave labor, ruining ecosystems. So give people a chance to file a grievance if they can trace that company to a U.S. investor or supplier or company. It's going to reduce terrorism, and it's a good use of artificial intelligence at this point. So what I propose is that we issue a tax. Now, I'm not big on taxes, but you got to do something when you're dealing with artificial intelligence here. Issue a tax on any company that deploys, develops, or utilizes artificial intelligence in any way. This tax money, if we're going to tax, I want it prescribed. It's not going into the central bank. It's not going into the treasury for the politicians to plunder and use how they want. We can prescribe where these taxes go, and this money will stay separate. It will go toward building the grievance, the worldwide grievance platform. Then, once the platform is built, it's functioning, whatever the overhead costs of running that is, whatever additional money is raised through this tax goes toward the guaranteed income for schizophrenic, schizoaffective people, and so on and so forth moving forward. Now, a corporation, a company, can reduce or avoid this AI tax by letting me and my affiliates and my group, if I had one, audit the company for equal pay between men and women, equal pay for equal work. We'll set up metrics based on seniority and things like that. You have to let us audit your company every year to ensure that you are paying women the same as men for equal work. And you can avoid this AI tax or greatly reduce it. Now, I'm happy to sit down with every CEO using artificial intelligence, look them in the eye, and challenge them to pay this tax. So if you're a CEO, you'd like to invite me to your office, I'll tell you to your face, you need to pay this tax and build this platform. Now, if I did become a lawyer, one of my arguments is that you cannot have a statute of limitations in the era of supercomputers. since there's been supercomputers, you cannot set a statute of limitation. The only statute of limitation would go back to when the first supercomputer was built. For commonality purposes, we'll use the Watson Supercomputer. This Watson Supercomputer built by IBM that was on featured on Jeopardy and beat human players. Right? It was smarter than the humans. It got widespread promotion. A lot of people watched Jeopardy. It made the news. So we'll use that as a starting point for statute of limitations. When that supercomputer was built or when it was featured on television. Interestingly enough, I watched the Watson computer on Jeopardy while I was at the Allegheny County Jail incarcerated in 2011. So all these municipalities, all these cities, all these counties, all these states that tasered and strapped down schizophrenics and injected them with Haldol, a chemical coercion drug, to get them to take a different drug that you wanted them on. Right? All these people, all these schizoaffective people that were put in solitary confinement. If I was a lawyer, I would argue that you cannot deny them a case to come against these local, state, county governments for restitution for how they were treated at the hands of a government controlled by corporate communists. And I'd be happy to settle with the City of Pittsburgh, the County of Allegheny, and the State of Pennsylvania. I'll testify, I'll sign waivers to not come after them if they would fund my national investigation, the investigation to weed out corruption in the government and corporations. If you'd like to hear about that, I'm looking at you, Ed, Sarah, and Josh. You guys can get me this budget I need to conduct my national investigation within days or weeks out of your treasury. Then you can appeal to higher governments to subsidize that. But it's time you stand up for your citizens. You have hypothetically satellites that can concentrate energy, wireless waves, onto a property, and you have citizens that are paying property tax, and you need to start to address this situation and stand up for your citizens. So I'm looking at you. Contact me. We can discuss. We can get this budget, and I can start conducting my national investigation to use AI and supercomputers to weed out fraud and corruption in the government and corporations. All right, until next time, I wish you peace, prosperity, and homeostasis.